guys, and welcome back to my channel. Oh my gosh, I missed you guys so much and I have just missed just being on this platform and just connecting with you guys and just sharing my life journey and life lessons and advice with you guys. I have truly missed this, really and truly. And the reason why I have been MIA for a few months is because, as you see on the title of this video, I was pregnant and now I am officially the mommy of 3 bouncing boys. I go to say 3 bouncing baby boys, but I am so excited. My son, my baby boy, he is 7 months old and oh my gosh, he's the love of my life. His name is Ezra Noah and he just completes our family, really and truly. I really wanted to share my labor and delivery story, but more so I really wanted to just give you guys some tips and advice that you can learn along the way. I've learned so many life lessons in this process that I just wanted to share with you guys that I know is going to help you guys in some way or the other. So let's get started. So I was 36 weeks. Everything was going fairly fine during my pregnancy. I think the major concern that the doctors had was that I had like a very low blood count. So that was like the major concern, and with me just getting my blood count up because it was really low. But other than that, there was nothing, you know, that was alarming to them. So I was 36 weeks, that was the Monday, and I was going to turn 37 weeks on the Thursday. So I went in to the clinic and the nurse, they took my blood pressure and my bloods and everything like that, and then she measured me, and when she measured me, she was like, how far along are you? And you know, I told her, well, I'm 36 weeks and I'll be 37 on Thursday. And she was like, okay, well, you're measuring 40 weeks. And that was like a great concern to her. And she asked me, is there any other thing that, you know, any other thing that is going on during your pregnancy? I said, well, the only thing is that at that point in time, like a week prior, I just started itching on my hands, on my feet, and my lower back. I was scratching. I remember just taking like a knife and just scraping my skin. And because of that, I started to break out on my hands, on my feet, and on my lower back. It was terrible, you guys. That itch that I was getting, it was out of this world. So I just mentioned that to her, and she was like, okay, well, we would refer you to the doctor. When I went to check the doctor, she was like, okay, well, you're measuring 36 weeks according to the records and different things like that. So you will have to go to the hospital right this minute, and possibly they will have to do either a C-section on you or induce you. And yeah, that was it. And they were like, go home. Don't even go home and pack your bag. Just head straight to the hospital. When I went to the hospital, the nurse, she checked me and she was like, but you are measuring correctly. You're measuring at 36 weeks, you know, 37 weeks, which you will be in a couple of days. So she was confused about that, but they were like, when they checked my records, they noticed that apparently, like, the nurses, I don't know what they did, but I had gestational diabetes. And I remember previously being in the nurses when my records came in for that, and she was like, okay, according to your records, you're good, you don't have gestational diabetes. And I remember being there and I'm like, are you sure? Because I'm just feeling like if I have it. And she's like, no girl, you're good, you're fine. When they checked my records, they said that I did have it. It's just that, okay, I don't know like the numbers, but let's say if you to qualify for gestational diabetes, I'm just calling out a number, you guys. Like, the number have to be 55 plus to qualify for that, to be in that spectrum. I was like I was like 54 or something like that, or 55. It was just near. And because of that, they just never took it as a concern. And I remember being in the hospital, and the lady was like, you're supposed to be in this hospital being monitored for gestational diabetes. And I was like, I had no idea. The nurses told me that everything was fine. You cannot argue with me. You cannot blame me. You know, it's not my fault. But in any case, they were like, okay, so you have that, plus you have a low blood count. And because of all of these things, we are going to induce you. So she was like, go home. They were like, go home. And within 2 days' time, come back and we will induce you and to have the baby. So that's what I did. Mind you, I did not. You know what? I'm going to tell you guys after, right? So that's what I did. I went home. I packed my bag, and then 2 days after, it was like 2 days or a day and a half after, I went back to the hospital and I spent the night there. And actually, you guys, the process was really, really good and really nice, and it just flowed really smoothly. I think what I really liked about being induced is that it's something that you plan for. So like the night before, I could have like really take a rest, have a good bath, and then prepare my mind for the morning. And that's what I really liked about being induced. So that's what I did. I was able to rest, really prepare my mind, have like a good breakfast and different things like that. And when I woke up the next morning, there's where they started to induce me by giving me this solution that literally tasted like water. It had no taste to it. And they gave me that. They started at like 9 o'clock. And I wasn't getting any pain from like 9 to like 2 o'clock. They were giving me this, increasing the time bit by bit, and I wasn't really getting any pain. It was about, let me see you guys, like about 3 o'clock, where the pain really started to come in. I mean, no, actually it was 3 o'clock. The pain started to come in, but it was bearable. Like it wasn't bad at all. It was bearable. And then they gave me another solution, and about 3:30 is where the pain really started to come in. You guys, like even though it's my third and you would think that I would get used to this pain, like you can never, well, at least for me, and for those of you that, you know, are not a part of the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, we don't get any painkillers, or we don't get any oh my gosh, I forget what you call it, epidural. You don't get any epidural. You have to go through that pain. You have to go through that pain. I think the only time you get an epidural is if you're going to have a C-section. But besides that, you have to go through it if you're going to have a natural birth. So I was like in pain, you guys, and I'm telling you, labor pain is a type of pain that you can never get used to. I remember I was like grinding. I remember I was watching some videos before, and they was telling me that to take a comb, and I did try it. I took a comb, and when the contractions would come, I would squeeze the comb so hard just to pass the pain, and I would just breathe. Like I would really try to breathe. About this point in time, my husband had come. So when he came, I was able to hold him. Guys, I remember during this time, like it had like a point when I was just in pain, and I was like, can I just please get your hand and just bite? Like I just wanted to, like when you're in that type of pain, you want to squeeze something, you want to grind on something, you want to bite something, because I think it kind of relieves some of the pain. Actually, it don't relieve any of the pain. It just put your minds on another type of pain. So after this, the doctor checked me, and she was like, okay, you are 4 centimeters dilated. I will come and check you in a half an hour time. So again, my husband was there, and we were there, and you know, just going through the pain as it intensifies and just got more. It just came in just hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. So it was like about an hour past. So this was about like, let's say 4:30, right? So 3:30 is where like around that 3 to 3:30 mark is where the pain really started to come in, and then about that 3:30 mark is where the pain was paining. It was really getting intense. Where if I could have like bite the metal on like the bars of the bed, guys, I would have done it. Like seriously. An hour had passed now, so I'm in an hour of intense, unbearable pain, right? So like I'm there, the nurse checked me, she comes back and she checks me and she says, okay, great, you're 7 centimeters dilated. So she said, I will come back within, I don't know why she said this time, 4 hours. I was 7 centimeters dilated. This is my 3rd baby, and she was like, I will come back in 4 hours and check you. I was like, wow, 4 more hours of this type of pain. But in any case, within a few minutes, you guys, I just began to push naturally. Like I was like, just pushing, right? Like, and the thing about it, a lot of people will tell you, don't push, but it's not as easy and simple as just, I'm not going to push. It's such a natural reaction that your body does that sometimes you really can't help it. So I was there, and like every time the contraction came, automatically I would just really start to push. And I remember my husband was there, and I was like, babe, like I want to push. And he was like, don't push, let me call a doctor. And I was like, no, don't call a doctor, because I thought you would have been rude to me and would have just quarreled with me for pushing. And in my mind, remember, she told me 4 hours, so I'm thinking that I have long to go. So I was like, no, don't call the doctor, I will try not to push. But every time the contraction came, I would just push, like, push. And my husband was like, okay, Lois, I am going to call the nurse. Like, let me call the nurse, let her check you, and, let's see what's going on. So he calls the nurse comes back, she checks me. I remember she turned to the next nurse, and she said, the baby is crowning. Send her to the delivery. Sorry, I'm so excited. But she said, the baby is crowning. Send her to the delivery room. So they put me in a wheelchair, and they carried me to the delivery room. I remember one of the nurses was like, okay, come up on the bed, because you have to go up on the bed to deliver the baby. And like I just could not go up on the bed because I was literally feeling the baby head. I was feeling the baby head coming out. You guys, I was feeling the baby head coming out, and I was telling her I cannot go on top of the bed because I was afraid that this baby will come out. And like she was like, okay, come on, just try, just press and just rest yourself on the bed. And after that I pushed, and the rest was history. So I want to give you guys some tips and advice, but in the story that I just now told about my labor and delivery story, I intentionally missed out some key details, and the reason that I missed out some of the details is because it's in my tips and advice that I want to share with you guys, right? So the very first advice that I will give is to just make sure that you take your vitamins and your supplements. If you have any deficiency in any area, whether it is zinc, calcium, iron, whatever, just really make sure that you be diligent in taking your vitamins and your minerals and just eating healthy. I'm telling you, please don't just do it for yourself, but also for your baby. Make sure you exercise, guys. Exercising helps a lot during your delivery when you have to push and when you have to do your breathings and different things like that. So please take your vitamins, take your whatever tablets or whatever the doctor might prescribe to you to take, and walk, exercise. Make sure you're hydrated. Please do it. Your bags early. I learned this the hard way this time around, because when the doctor told me that to head to the hospital my bag wasn't packed, and I was 36 weeks pregnant, and my bags was not packed. And because of that, I was like fish out of water trying to pack a bag. My husband had to go and get this and that and the other. Here we were up and down a day and a half before I go into the hospital because I wasn't prepped and ready. So please, from the 6 months mark, from 5 to 6 months mark in your pregnancy, pack your bag. I had a friend, she said she had 2 diaper bags packed. One she left in the car, and one she left at the door of her house, of the entrance of her house. And for me, I think I kind of it's not that it's because it was my 3rd baby. It's just that I had no energy during my pregnancy. I had no energy at all, and because of that, like, to do things, I didn't have the zeal to do certain things. But I'm telling you, like, pack your bag. If you're doing your nesting, do it early. If you're preparing in the nursery, you're getting things done around the house, you're painting. And interestingly enough, around that time where I was pregnant with my baby, we were building our home and we were moving into the upstairs, and it was a lot. So you guys, make sure that you do your nesting early. Make sure you pack your diaper bags early. Make sure that you have everything prepped and ready, because things come up. An emergency could come up. I mean, with me, I've learned your pregnancy could be going so well, and all of a sudden, boom, things just show up out of nowhere. So just make sure that you have your hospital bag packed early. Make sure you have everything for the baby, everything for you packed and ready to go. Trust your intuition. Just as me, when the nurse was like, girl, you're good, you don't have gestational diabetes, I felt it within me, like, no, I think that I have it, and I should have gone with my instincts. Not only that, when the lady when she measured me 40 weeks, I knew that it was totally off and she was completely wrong. What she was telling me would of course fear to someone else. I was at peace because I knew that she was wrong. While another mother or another pregnant woman would have been freaking out, honestly, I was not freaking out because I knew she was wrong. Even when I had my newborn baby, when I went with baby Ezra to the hospital, one of the doctors looked at him and was like, he's looking like if he's Down syndrome. And I knew that he's not Down syndrome. Like, I told the doctor, no, like, he is not, he's not disabled. He does not have Down syndrome. That's just his eyes, his dad. He has his father's eyes. It's not that I am in denial. It's just something as a woman, you know when something is wrong. This is just, I don't know if this is advice or just knowledge, just throwing out some knowledge out there. The more kids you have, the more painful nursing is, in terms of the cramps, and the more longer it lasts. And what I mean by that, with my firstborn, when I had Aden, when I nursed him, there was no pain whatsoever. With my second, nursing him for that first week, like for the first 3 days of nursing my second-born, it was so painful, you guys. The cramps that you feel while nursing your baby is so painful, and it's because your womb is coming back into place. And because of that, when they nurse, your womb comes back into place. And it's so painful, you guys. It feels like if you're in labor again. And that lasted 3 days. With Ezra, it lasted like about 9 days. Okay, I don't want to exaggerate, about 7 days, like a full week. Every time he nursed, I was in severe pain, like if I was in labor all over again. Take a Lamaze class. I highly recommend you do a Lamaze class. It's going to just give you guidance of how the process of how to breed, and even as a husband, how to support your wife during that that process. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful bonding moment, and you don't want your husband panicking, and you don't want to be panicking or you don't want just bad energy, right? So I highly recommend you do a Lamaze class. In the Lamaze class, they show you different techniques and different things you can do to help just have a more smooth labor and delivery. So I highly recommend doing a Lamaze class before. Have lots of sex. I cannot emphasize this more. This should have been number one. Ladies, you want to have a lot of sex before you have the baby. What happens? The sperm softens your cervix, and I can testify of that. Really and truly have a lot of sex, especially coming on to the end of your pregnancy. Even though you may not feel like it, you may not want to do it, you may feel like a whale, or like, oh my gosh, I'm not in the mood, I'm so tired. Do it for you. Do it for you, honey. Do it for you, right? And it's going to definitely help you in terms of delivering the baby even faster. My last tip is salt water. Let salt water be your best friend after a vaginal delivery. After giving birth vaginally, salt water is your best friend, especially if you got any tearing, any major tearing inside out. Salt water is going to bring back your hoo-ha like if nothing never happened. What I did, so there is this like sit baths, and I started doing the sit baths, and I was like, no, this isn't working. I literally got like a big tub, and I will pour water and a lot of salt. I would put a lot of salt in the water, and I will immerse my entire lower body into the basket, into the bucket, and I will sit there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes twice a day, once a day. I did that for 2 weeks. This time I just did it for 1 week because my delivery was really good. I didn't get any major tearing, so I didn't have to do like a long salt water bath. But if you have really bad tearing or anything like that, sit in the salt water. Sometimes what I would have done, I know some people will not be privileged to do this, but I would have gone to the beach and bathed, and that salt water would really help you heal so beautiful. So these are my tips and advice, you guys, and I'm so excited to be back and just connect with you guys and share content and just be back. I miss you guys, and look out for more videos that I will be sharing with you. Bye guys.